Welcome to Beyond the Shelf. I'm Jenny.
I am Dawn.
And we, of course, are very excited that you all are joining us. This month is February. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean, Dawn? What do we celebrate in February?
Winter being almost over.
Oh. I don't know if winter's ever going to be over in Ohio this year. It might. Mm-hmm. Most people would say Valentine's Day, but we're library nerds, so we're going to celebrate President's Day.
It's always about the educational turn for us.
Yes. Sure. Well, sure. What we did was find very weird and interesting facts about presidents.
We did.
It was fun. I found out things I did not know, and I thought that was really cool.
So, as a youth, President's Day is all about not having school.
Exactly.
But because of that, I had to be like, okay, what actually is President's Day?
Yeah.
So it's always celebrated on the third Monday in February. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those holidays where it's always on the numbered day of the week or whatever. Like
yeah, it's always on the same day,
right?
But not date.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a very concise way to put it,
yes.
and not at all what I was saying.
Oh, I thought that's what you were going for.
That is what I meant, but not at all the way that I was going to phrase it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess it used to be like people would call it George Washington's birthday or something.
Because I think, weren't George Washington and Abraham Lincoln both born in February?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
That was not a weird fact that I found.
Well, that's probably because it's just a birthday. It doesn't make it weird.
The internet did tell me that it was initially celebrating Washington and Lincoln, who are two of like the more prolific presidents, or they had big accomplishments. Well, Washington because he was first, and then Lincoln because of the Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation and all that.
Yeah, George Washington's birthday is February 22nd. Mm-hmm. And Abraham Lincoln's is February 12th. So, yes, they were both February. Yay, me.
Good job. Jenny did not just pull that information out of her brain.
No,
She looked it up like a good library worker.
I did know they were in February. I just didn't know when. I do have an interesting fact about Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
So, why don't I just, I think I do.
Jump right in with that. Okay.
Maybe I don't. Oh, well, I do, but it's Lincoln adjacent. So my interesting fact is about Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
So Theodore Roosevelt, when he got inaugurated, he wore a ring that had a lock of Lincoln's hair in it.
Why?
Because he was fascinated with Lincoln, and it's kind of why he pursued
being a president.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
And a little weird. Disturbing. Yeah.
Well, people used to do that with like their loved ones. They would carry around locks of their hair.
Yeah.
So he was
if a ghost came, it was bad news if they had that lock of hair.
He was just that, focused.
Enamored with him.
Enamored, that's a good word.
And then I had another interesting fact about Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay.
He was a huge animal person.
Well known for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the teddy bear is named after him, right? Is that your fact?
I don't know if that's true or not.
I didn't even. That.
So he had horses and cats and dogs and guinea pigs and a lizard and a badger. And he had a snake named Emily Spinach. And he had a bear named Jonathan Edwards.
I love that so much.
That is a lot of animals.
Did he have all of them at the White House, though?
I don't know.
Like a menagerie at the White House.
Yeah, we have a lady that we work with, and I'm just going to call her out. Her name's Wendy, and she has almost the same amount of pets as Theodore Roosevelt did.
She just acquired some new dogs. So
yes.
She's got a few dogs, few cats, sheep, chickens.
Yes.
I think a tortoise. Wendy.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk to you about all of your pets sometime.
Yes. Yep. When you come in.
I also have a Theodore Roosevelt fact. Neat little facto. So he actually is one who named the White House. Mm-hmm. Named it the White House.
Okay.
Before Roosevelt, people called it the President's House or the President's Palace.
Oh, palace.
Which I feel like it's kind of not what George Washington would have wanted. Because Washington was very much like, they wanted to call him a king. And he was like, no, we just got away from that.
Yeah.
And so calling where the president lives a palace is very adjacent to.
Kind of almost in his face. Yeah, we're going to
so the president's house.
Put you
That's
up that
the president's house.
The White House.
The White House.
Nice.
Is, what we call it now. Theodore Roosevelt was also the first president to ride in a car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some presidents didn't have a lot of success in cars, like JFK. So, That's just
This is true.
Yeah. So another interesting fact. I had no idea. Gerald Ford, his birth name was Leslie Lynch King Jr.
Where did Gerald Ford come from?
I don't know. I have no idea.
He wasn't like a movie star who totally changed his name. He just...
No, but he was a model for Cosmopolitan. I thought that was so weird.
Was
Leslie
Ford,
Lynch King Jr. became Gerald Ford.
Before Reagan or after?
Oh, before.
Okay. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously.
Yeah. Ford was, I'm pretty sure it was Ford, Carter, Reagan.
Okay. Because Reagan was an actor.
Yeah.
And then became, I guess maybe it's not as uncommon to be like a celebrity in some other way and then become a politician. And
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bono. Yeah.
Who was the one? Is it like Jesse Ventura too?
Yeah, I think so. Like a mayor or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's a little weird.
You know, people, I feel like we tend to trust celebrities. Or like you think you get to know them because you see them in your magazines, in your on your TV screen or on your radio or whatever. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to be a politician. And you're like, you know, that guy's convinced me of some things. Sure.
Yeah. So since we talked about Ford, Jimmy Carter came right after him.
Okay.
And Jimmy Carter wrote a children's book.
Yes.
We looked it up, and it's not in our catalog.
Aww.
But the name of the book is The Little Baby Snooglefleeger.
Snooglefleeger?
Snooglefleeger.
Please start calling your grandchildren Snooglefleegers.
It's about a little boy who grew up in poverty, and he meets an unusual deep-sea creature. I'm guessing the Snooglefleeger is the deep-sea creature and not the child. But you can still call your grandchildren that.
Like a cute little odd...
Baby Snoogle's cute, but the little Fleeger on the end is just...
Fleeger's not it.
That's the little
Jimmy
fin.
Jimmy Carter actually wrote a few books. He wrote some devotionals and a couple of memoirs and stuff as well. So,
but nothing will top little baby Snooglefleeger.
Maybe not. Maybe not so much.
So what else did you find out?
Well, along with the first president to ride in a car, the other Roosevelt, FDR, was the first president to ride in an airplane.
Wow.
It was apparently a Boeing, and it was called the Dixie Clipper.
Of course.
It was the whole, along with the fact was like the whole like model, whatever, of the airplane, but I didn't write that all down.
Okay.
It was a something rather Clipper, and this particular one was called the Dixie Clipper. So I should have looked at when Roosevelt was president to be like, that makes sense for airplanes when Franklin Roosevelt was president. But.
Well, Theodore Roosevelt was number 32. I don't know what number FDR was.
I don't either. Somebody who is enamored with presidents is probably over here like, obviously, it's this.
Yeah.
So.
I thought this was fun. Herbert Hoover. He wanted to
the vacuum was named after?
No.
He
wanted to stay fit. So working with his physician, they invented his own sport called Hoover Ball. And it's a cross between volleyball, tennis, and dodgeball. But it's played with a medicine ball. Well, medicine balls are really heavy.
Yes.
Do you want to play dodgeball with a medicine ball? If you can dodge a medicine ball, you know, I guess.
Medicine balls can be different weights. Like they don't all, you can have like a 5-pound one. But how are you going to do a like tennis version of that? Like,
I have no idea.
It would have to be like a huge like ping pong paddle because a tennis racket would like break.
There was no video footage. I did when I found this fact.
I want to look up Hoover Ball and look at the rules and figure it out. Do you like
just
hit
be careful
the
about
ball and try not to get hit by it?
Well, I don't want to get hit by it. Yeah.
How'd you break your hand? I was playing that Hoover Ball.
Hoover Ball. Yeah. I also I wanted to look up specific Ohio presidents.
Okay, sure.
Because that's where we're from.
Okay.
Oddly enough, Grover Cleveland is not from Ohio. You'd think so. His name's Cleveland. He should be from Ohio, but along that lines, he's also not from Sesame Street. You know, his name's
like
Grover.
The monster.
But he was the only president until just recently that served 2 non-consecutive terms.
Oh, yeah.
He was number 22 and 24. And then Benjamin Harrison, who was an Ohio president, was number 23. And Benjamin Harrison was the first president to use electricity in the White House.
Nice.
I took a long time to get there, but I got there.
No, that's fine. You tied it together.
Yeah.
That was...
And I threw in a Sesame Street reference.
For good measure.
Win-win.
Love that. That's great. Now, was James Garfield from Ohio?
I think so.
Ones.
I know you can dial Garfield 12323, and that's a commercial.
No, I don't know.
I don't even remember what it's for.
So,
I just remember the phone number.
If I haven't said
Garfield.
before, I am not an Ohio native. I was not born, raised, educated as a youth in Ohio. So I don't know which presidents were Ohioans. And I think there's even one that Ohio claims as a president because he was living in Ohio, but he was originally from Virginia.
Yeah.
I think that was...
Yeah, Garfield was.
Was that Garfield was in Ohio?
No, he wasn't. Yeah, he was an Ohio president.
Okay, he was. All right.
We had
thought
8.
So.
I think we were either tied with Virginia for the most, or Virginia has one more than us. I can't remember, but I know we had 8 presidents from Ohio.
I just pulled up the list. So Ulysses S. Grant, although it says Point Pleasant, which I thought was in West Virginia. I'm not sure. Rutherford B. Hayes. The B stands for Burchard.
Of course.
Which, obviously.
Yeah, duh.
James Garfield. Benjamin Harrison. McKinley. Taft. And Harding.
You missed William Henry Harrison. He was number 9.
Oh.
He was before
I might
Grant.
have skipped him while reading.
Yeah.
Harrison was last. He was born in Virginia, but he settled in Ohio, and also himself claimed to be an Ohio president. So,
well, there you go.
He said it himself. So, there you go.
And I have a fact about him.
About Harrison?
Yeah.
Okay.
William Henry Harrison had the shortest term of presidents.
Right.
He died on day 32 of his presidency.
He was president for a month.
Yeah.
And
well, just over a month.
Okay.
Yes, pretty sad.
Like, imagine because it takes a lot of work to, like, build up a political career
right.
and have a campaign and run for president and then pass away, like, a month in.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Wow.
And then Rutherford B. Hayes.
Burchard Hayes.
Yep. He held the first Easter egg roll at the library. I don't know. Wow. I think he was actually at the White House because that's where he resided.
Probably.
And he was number 19 and an Ohio president.
Okay. So James Garfield was the first left-handed president.
Oh, yeah.
So I am
You're
left-handed.
lefty.
So I was like, tell me about all the lefties. So he was the first left-handed president, and there were a total of 7 presidents who were left-handed. Truman, Garfield first, then Truman, Ford, Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Clinton, and Obama.
Isn't that interesting? Because I'll bet you there were other presidents that started off left-handed, but you remember way back there, like they would like tie their hands or smack them if they tried to use their left hand to make everybody right-handed.
Yeah, so it's possible. There could have been more lefties, and we just didn't know it.
Yeah.
2 presidents were kind of ambidextrous. Thomas Jefferson and Woodrow Wilson. But the reason that they were ambidextrous is because both of them had injured their right hands.
Oh.
And so they learned to write left-handed and both got really good at it.
That's awesome, because if I would lose my right hand, I would lose all functionality because my left hand is pretty much useless. I cannot do anything left-handed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
I feel like I've had to be ambidextrous. I do a lot of visual learning. So when I see people do things right-handed, I tend to do it that way. Like, I can't use scissors left-handed.
Okay.
But I also know lefties who, if they try to use scissors right-handed, they can't use scissors. Like, it doesn't work. So.
There's a lot of people that will do sports like right-handed, but still will
do other things
left-handed. Yeah.
Handedness is interesting.
It is.
So,
but that's not what this podcast is about.
Like 46 presidents now?
I don't know.
47?
Too many.
Well, yeah, something like too many. But only having like 7 of them be lefties, that's a really low percentage.
It is.
But I agree. There's got to be more of them that probably were.
Probably. Yeah. So my last fact about an Ohio president was Warren Harding. It's nothing to be proud of that he came from Ohio. He bet the White House china on a poker game and lost it.
Who won it?
I don't know.
Oh, that's what I want to know. I want to know who has the White House china because Harding bet it in a poker game.
Yeah, and lost it. Yay, Ohio. You know
I'm
what?
just like,
We have
technically-
presidents and astronauts, serial killers. You know, there's something for everybody in Ohio. So,
That's one way to look at it.
and gamblers that become presidents.
Apparently, in gamblers, I'm just thinking like being president and living in the White House, it's kind of like being a renter. It's not really your house. Like, it's your house, but it's not really
True.
your house. So the audacity to be like the White House China. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
I know. I was pretty surprised. I'm going to see if I can find out who he lost it to.
Who got the White House China? I wonder if they like didn't actually take it or if they gave it back or something. That'd be interesting to know. So I forget where this came up in my research, but I found that James Madison was apparently the shortest president. Everybody knows who the tallest president was. It was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
He was 6'4", which was incredibly tall for that time period, for that when he was alive. But he was 6'4", only weighed about 180 pounds. So the fact that he looks like a stick,
There's a reason for that.
there's a reason for that. So James Madison was 5'4", which is about as tall as me, which isn't very tall for a guy, but
Right.
I don't even know, because James Madison was one of the first presidents. I wonder if men were generally shorter back then, or if that was still short. I just thought that was interesting. The tallest versus the shortest. There's an entire foot in between them.
Anyhow, I'm looking it up. It's not saying who he lost it to.
Lost the
But-
China too.
Yeah, but they're saying that it may not even been a poker game. It might have been a game called Cold Hand, which is very similar to the children's card game War.
Which is like really based on luck.
Can you imagine?
The
They're just
audacity.
flipping cards.
And he's like, I'll bet you the China.
It's a good thing we didn't have a nuclear bomb. Guy, president's just playing war with people.
The card game, at least, not the
Yeah.
real war.
Wow.
So my next one, I kind of requires a little bit of a story. It's about Ulysses S. Grant. So Grant he was a general during the Civil War, right? He apparently was known to be a speeder. In his horse and buggy, he had been stopped for speeding through DC multiple times.
How did they know?
Okay, so this is a story, and I got this from the National Park Service website, nps.gov. September 27th, 1908, there's a newspaper called the Sunday Star, and they published an interview with a retired police officer. The officer claimed he had arrested President Grant for speeding in 1872. He said he arrested him because he was setting a bad example. So, of course, NPS had to do some research on it to see if they could find out if it was true. And there's no sources to back up this officer's story, because the officer goes on to say he and Grant actually became really good friends after this. But the original story is that Grant was racing down the street with his friends. And so he and the other people got arrested. There's no sources to back up the officer's story, but there is evidence that Grant was arrested for speeding in 1866 before he was president. Apparently, what happened is that he drove off because he didn't think the officers had authority to arrest him. Because at the time, he was a general and decorated and everything. And so he evaded police, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
Eventually, I guess they said he realized the error of his ways and he turned himself in and paid a fine for speeding in his horse and buggy in 1866.
How did they know it's speed? There's no they don't have a radar gun.
They don't have a radar gun, but I feel like you can tell when a horse
the
is
horse's
running
mane
really
is
fast.
flying
and
back.
you can be standing on the side of the street and see a car fly by and
Right.
know that car is probably
Yes,
going
but this is
over
a horse and
35.
buggy. I don't know.
don't know.
That just cracks me up.
Apparently,
That's the best story.
I was going to say apparently Grant had a lead foot. He had lead reins,
Yeah,
apparently.
I guess. Spurs.
Something like
Lead
that.
spurs.
Something like that. I just
Wow.
thought that was a funny story.
That is a funny story.
Yeah. Ulysses S. Grant, great general for the U.S. Army and also a speed demon.
Aspirations to be in the Kentucky Derby. Wow.
Apparently so, yeah. Although he was an Ohio president too. So
Yeah, well, Like I said, Ohio has a lot.
We got a little bit of everything for everyone.
We offer a lot to people. Oh, well, this was a lot of fun, though.
I agree.
I really don't know much. I didn't know much about the presidents, and I really still don't know a lot of useful facts. I know a lot of interesting things. Like,
What we never looked up was if George Washington actually had wooden teeth.
oh, I thought that was debunked a long time ago.
Probably, but I guess
Oh,
we
wait,
don't know the details.
he might have had wooden teeth, but I think the one that was debunked was that
chopped down
that
the
didn't
cherry
chop
tree.
down the cherry tree.
Or
That was
what-
yeah.
That
Or was that
reference,
Honest Abe? Or was that George? Says, I cannot tell a lie. I did it. Was that George Washington? With the
No,
cherry
that was
tree?
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Because that was the
Honest
Honest Abe
Abe.
thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, anyhow, it was fun.
Yep.
We ought to mention is our January episode. We talked to Daphne and we talked about the library's 100th year and how exciting that is. So we are going to be actually interviewing people every month. We are going to have a short little segment that I don't know what we're calling it. We'll have to maybe come up with a name, but at least a little short segment where we're interviewing people that have been affiliated with the library in one way or the other in the past 100 years, or at least 28 years. And so for this podcast in February, our interview is going to be with Pearl.
Pearl is our administrative assistant. Is that your official title?
Administrative assistant / fiscal officer in reserve / PR person / whatever.
She does it all.
She does do it all. I like to call Pearl the brains of the operation.
I agree.
Which is scary.
Well, someone has to have one in here. So thank you.
That's great.
Pearl keeps us going. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Pearl reminds us of all of the things and keeps track of all the things, and it's
And has
fantastic.
been here how many years now, Pearl?
Almost 28.
Okay.
Yeah, that is hard to imagine.
Almost
Yes.
as old as Dawn is. Almost.
Almost.
Sheesh. Okay. Okay, now I really feel old.
No.
I'm teasing.
Wow.
Dawn's way older than 28.
Well, we're all 29 and holding. I mean, come on here.
Exactly. So that's why we wanted to talk to Pearl today, because you have been here for
A dinosaur age.
Yeah. Okay.
a while.
Let's just go with a quarter of a century
And
plus.
so you've seen a lot of different kind of versions of the library. How many directors have you worked with?
5.
And there have only been like...
What, 7 or 8?
9?
Yeah, there hasn't been that many, really.
Right. There's been a couple interim directors
Yes.
who like to think that they don't count as directors, but if you are running this joint, I think it counts.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Pearl, since you've had 5 different directors in a 28-year span, the role of director, I mean, you've had a lot of different people with a lot of different managerial styles. So how does that work for you with that adaptation with trying to learn the new person's customs and the way that they work? And
Well, and you're right. Everybody is different. We've had a lot of ranges in personality and everything. One director was more a lot of community activities, but also state activities and national activities. So the library itself was known because of her face out there. Mm-hmm. And that's the role of the director, to be the face of the library. And everybody takes that role in different ways. Mm-hmm. She tended to take it, big time, national. Most of our directors are local and, state type people. Mm-hmm.
More still, local community involvement.
Right, right, because you have to be that face of the library.
Right. Sure. So in your 28 tenure here, did you have any dictator directors without naming names?
No comment.
I think that
I wouldn't call a dictator. No, everybody has different managerial styles. Mm-hmm. Some are so laid back, and others are more regimented. Mm-hmm. I don't think no dictator type thing. No.
So how does that affect your job? As the library has evolved and the people have changed, how has your job changed?
It's changed a lot just in the last few years, just with technology alone.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Where we seem to be, I don't know, I can't decide if I'm getting older and I can't keep up as much, or if we are really moving that fast anymore. Technology has just, you learn one thing and something new's coming along. There's always something new coming along. And I keep telling myself I'm too old for this, but I still enjoy it. There's so many fun things. And, I'm sitting here. We will be debuting sometime this year I call it, well, actually, it's a television screen, but it will be at the circulation desk, and we will be showcasing our different programs and flyers and all that on the big screen. So that's something new that I will be learning. All a learning curve, always learning something new.
I appreciate your willingness to learn new technologies and new things.
It's fun stuff. Some people run screaming, but I enjoy that challenge, to a certain extent. And I keep saying this is why I dye my hair. You can't see that I'm going crazily gray.
Crazily.
So in the years that you've been here, are there any particular events or things that have happened that stick out in your brain?
I tend to be behind the scenes, so there's not a whole lot. Moving to this new building was the biggest. Things that we did, oh my gosh, when we started the renovation and we had to move into Gradall, we were the first library that moved into a manufacturing facility. And that's where our home was. So we had to move all of our books. Everything moved over to that facility. Of course, then we had to bring them all back. And, thank goodness for those library movers and everything. But when we first came back here, it probably for about a year before we stopped grinning when we walked in the front door, because it was so much of a change between the library to the new library, big and bright and beautiful woodwork and everything. So that's the big thing that has happened in my reign.
You were here for the 75th then.
Oh, right? I've been here, yeah.
And the 90th and the...
No.
Yes, all of those
the
milestones.
90th, yeah. Oh, I was thinking 50th. Like, no, she hasn't been here for that one.
So if I can do math, which sometimes I can't, you would have only been here for a handful of years before that renovation, because that was in like 2000, right?
Yeah, I started here in 97.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
just even the different programs that we've had. We over at Gradall, we had a farm program the one time. We brought in a calf and everything. We've had a lot of fun things go on.
Have you noticed any general characteristics amongst the staff that just kind of has held through for all those years, or have people changed a lot in the library world?
I don't think they've really changed a lot. I think when you come here, generally you're a reader or you enjoy books. So I think we have that commonality among us. We do enjoy reading. We enjoy the environment and everything. I mean, thank goodness, it's a clean environment. I'm not out there in minus whatever degrees working today. So, personality-wise and everything, we've got a good blend of people.
But the commonality is everybody loves books.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Well, Pearl, we appreciate you talking to us again. We know how much you love it, and I'm sure we could have you as a guest every month because of your enthusiasm.
Every month.
Every month. No, we do appreciate it. And so for our listeners, if you wonder how, things get in the Orviews and our webpage and everything that's happening, we have our little Pearl behind the scenes making it all work, and we all appreciate you very much. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
I love talking to Pearl.
I know. She's so much fun. She was really nervous, but she does such a great job.
She does. Pearl, I said it before, she's the brains of the operation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, Pearl. So, what do we have coming up in February?
We are busy bees, although all the bees are asleep right now.
Yeah.
So there is if you're not familiar with the children's graphic novel series Dogman, there's a Dogman movie that is coming out in theaters soon.
By Dave Pilkey, who is an Ohio author.
Yes. So from January 27th through February 8th, the children's department is going to be celebrating Dogman with Dogman Mania. So they're going to have some different activities and fun stuff happening in the children's department to celebrate Dogman.
That's really a lot of fun. We will also be continuing with our Adulting 101, which our newest staff member, Jennifer, is in charge of that. She did one in January. The one in February is going to be on February 24th at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be about sewing and mending. It's like a stitch in time saves 9. So,
What does that even mean?
oh, so what it meant was like if you had a little tear and you stitched it up real quick, it would save you time because if you don't take care of it quick, you're going to be doing more stitches later.
Okay.
You never heard that saying?
I've heard that saying, but I had no idea what it
I
meant.
think Ben Franklin might have.
Ben
said
Franklin
it.
said a lot of stuff.
He was not a president.
Nope.
I think when I was little, I thought he was.
Well, is he considered a founding father?
For sure.
There you go. So also happening in the children's department, they have 3 sessions of Brick Builders coming up on the 13th, 20th, and 27th. Those are all Thursdays. I think if you sign up for one, you're kind of signed up for all of those. And that's for kindergarten to 4th graders.
Okay.
And they're also doing Friday food fun programs. So the February one is on the 14th on Valentine's Day at 1 p.m. And that's a program for preschool age children, and they like have a food theme, like a particular food theme, like a fruit or a vegetable or something, and they have stories and fun little activities related to that.
That is fun. Yeah. Book club continues on in February with a book called Killers of a Certain Age, and that's by Deanna Rayburn. I read it. I loved it.
I thought you
so
had.
good. Yes. So that book club will be on February 13th. They will meet at 10 in the morning and at 6:30 that night. And then is there coffee and crafts in February?
Yeah, but it will have happened. It will have been last night.
Oh,
for when
okay. All right.
when
So when
this-
is it in March, though?
The March one is on the 6th.
Okay.
And we'll be doing a macrame wall decor for that one.
All right,
So the
that's
registration for that will be later in February.
Right. And for book club, you don't have to register. You just show
Exactly
up.
correct, yeah. For teens, we are having a Palentine's party on Valentine's Day. So this is more of a hangout with your friends.
Right.
Snacks, games, crafts.
If your
kind of
friends
thing.
are snacks, then
Yeah.
you're all set.
Right, exactly. So that'll be at 4 o'clock on Valentine's Day.
Perfect.
And then we're also encouraging everybody to take part in the Great Backyard Bird Count. So this is something that happens every year. We'll have a checklist of different birds. You can get the paper or there's an app that you can download. Starting on Valentine's Day, just kind of watching out your window at home to see what birds you can see. A lot of birds do some different, I think, migrations in February, I think before spring starts. And there's actually like an organization that people will report back the birds that they saw, and it helps them like keep track of all kinds of things. So if you keep track of birds from the 14th until the 25th of February, you can turn in your checklist and be entered for a bird-themed prize.
Fun. So right now when we're recording this, we just went through like this horrendous cold snap, like where the high was -1. There's a little robin in my yard yesterday.
I always
I was
wonder,
like, what are you doing, little robin? Go south.
it makes me wonder if animals don't feel hot and cold the way that humans do.
I was cold looking at her. and I always assume all robins are girls. Just because the name Robin. I don't know why.
But what about Robin Batman?
I assumed that when I was a child. I don't assume it now. But I always thought all robins were girls. I don't know how they got other robins.
That's great.
But also, never mind. I digress. One of our most favorite things that we started was 3 years ago, the local Author Fest. That is coming back. This will be our 4th one, and that's going to be on Saturday, March 1st. That's going to be from 10 to 1 here at the library. I know that we have at least 20 authors that have signed up to participate, including some new authors with some new books. So I hope you all can come out to that. That'll be a lot of fun.
We have a lot of authors reaching out to us, so we'll definitely have some new people this year that
Yay.
I hope you and I are going to get to talk to. So our listeners will be able to hear them as well and come out and meet some new authors. It's going to be very, very fun day.
Yeah. And then March 3rd through the 8th will be our happy birthday to Dr. Seuss in the children's department. They'll have games and crafts, scavenger hunt. That'll happen all week long. So this podcast will come out. This podcast will come out before. If we waited till March, then we would have missed it. So thank you all for joining us. We look forward to next month when you will hear something fascinating, I'm sure, from Dawn and Jenny. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
See you at the library soon.